We are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another installment of the Paper and Glam Book Club. Tonight, we are discussing our May read, I Am That Girl. And to open our book club this month, we are going to discuss how we discovered a love of reading. So, kind of how we became passionate readers, about when it was in our life, and when and what kind of struck in us that made us just passionate about turning some pages. So I will go first, and basically my mom just let me go into a bookstore and pick out whatever books I wanted, and that was rare for my mom. My parents are very conservative, but if it was a bookshop and I was like, Mom, let's go to the bookstore, she would take me to the bookstore, she would bring some work to do, and she would just let me wander around the bookstore, and it was just like a whole room full of possibility and different worlds and different ways of looking at the world and just stories. And I just remember feeling like it was just like Narnia, like the closet of Narnia. You walk in and you can be, anywhere and learn about anything. So that is really how I discovered a love of reading. And it's kind of funny because this is Paper and Glam. You guys know I love paper and I love bookstores. And those were kind of the two things that my parents were like, okay, whatever school supplies she wants and whatever books she's gonna read, it's kind of, that was the thing that they kind of rewarded me with. And it's no surprise that I have such a love for office supplies and planners and all things paper because of that. So yeah, I would say it was probably about, gosh, really young. I mean, I could read before kindergarten. So I mean, my whole life I've really just had a love of reading. So Sarah, how did you get into reading?
Mine was kind of similar. It was actually my aunt, and she was a stay-at-home mom, and she would take my cousins, her three kids, and we were so unruly. I don't know how she didn't kill us even on the way to the bookstore, but then she would let us each pick out a book, and we could, there weren't many limits on what we could, read, and we would each pick out a book, and then we would trade them amongst ourselves, and I think that's really probably what started it. It's crazy, though. I think it was like that kind of started off the passion, and then so I'm a 90s kid, and Beauty and the Beast coming out, and that was like my favorite movie. I wanted the library in the Beast Castle. That was a goal for me, and I don't know, but I was kind of I was a crazy kid. Like I didn't like reading any of the assigned books that we had in school. We were assigned the Narnia series. I think I like skimmed each of the chapters, and I just have never liked to read what I had to read. So I think then like really just like devouring books probably wasn't until I was in my earlier teens, having to spend the summers at my grandparents' house, babysitting kids and sitting out in the sun and reading books.
Tabitha, how about you? This was your question.
I know. The story for me, it was when I was really little, my mom would read to me, and but we grew up really poor, so there was a lot of us all in one house together. And so according to the pecking order, it was like one television. So when you're the youngest, you did not get the choice of what you wanted to watch on TV. So I remember saying, oh, I'm so bored, I'm so bored. And I was like, well, you need to find something to do. So my cousin had got some books from a weekly reader, and I was like, okay, I'm bored. So I picked up the book and I started reading it. And I was like, by the time I finished it, I was like, wow, this is just like a TV show. I love this. And I get to control when the story is on, when the story is off. I could take it anywhere with me. And so from that moment on, I was hooked. I was hooked on reading. I started to read everything that was like, teen. And my mother couldn't get me to do anything else but read. Because I was like, hey, now I get to control my own TV in my head. And that's kind of where it started.
So I am an only child, and so I just grew up reading since I can remember. My mom's a teacher, and it was just, you just read. That's just what I did, and I loved it, and I was good at it, and I could just read a ton. And so I remember reading anywhere we'd go in the car. I would read, even if it was just like down the street. I would take a book. I would read. I would read in the bathroom. I would read outside. I would read under the covers in bed at night. You know, to stay up late, hide a flashlight and stuff like that. So it was just, ever since I was little, I just read all the time. I read a ton, and that's never really stopped. Maybe a little bit in college when you just get too busy to read for fun. You just have so much else. But that would be the only time when I wasn't always reading something and a lot of things and a lot of different things. And I just love it.
I come after Katrina. So it should surprise no one that I talked very young. Like when I was very little, apparently I spoke like perfect English. And for some reason, I feel like that went along with the fact that I also read really, really early for my age. And I come from a family, on my father's side, they're immigrants from Italy. So English isn't my father's first language. It's not my grandparents' first language. But my grandfather and grandmother were like always obsessed with the fact that I guess like I was like smarter than the average bear when I was little. So they really encouraged me to read a lot. And my grandparents they lived in Atlantic City. And we would walk to the beach and walk all around the city, and there was this not antique bookstore, but there's this used bookstore that I'm still surprised that I've never gone and like taken photos inside of it, because it's kind of like one of those kind of old bookstores where like books are literally stacked like precariously like all around you, and it's like winding tunnels. But my grandfather would take me there and let me get whatever I wanted. And I was just the person that read. Like my dad kind of can't read very well. He still needs me to like read things for him. So it was just something that I did. It was like Alexis was the person who was designated to read. So I always read.
All right, my turn. I find the library to be a super magical place, and I think a lot of that is because my dad used to take my sister and I when he would come home from work. That was like, he would take us to the library, we could pick out as many books as we wanted, and it was so magical. And then taking part in like the summer reading club things, like my sister and I would always challenge each other with how many books we could read and what we could read, and just loved it. And I still to this day love the library. I think I go there at least 2 to 3 times during the week. I take my daughter there, and she loves to run down like the aisles of books, and she loves to just stop and look at all the books, and it reminds me a lot of when I was a kid. So I read all the time. I read books to my daughter. Like when she wakes up around breakfast time, we read books, and then we read books throughout the day, and she reads like 7 or 8 books at night with me. We read like all the Dr. Seuss books, and we just love it. We absolutely, I just adore it. My sister and I, when we get on the phone with each other, like for example, she FaceTimed me from Mexico. They're in Puerto Vallarta, and she's like, oh my God. She's like, R.L. Stein's new books are out, and she took them with her on the trip. So we were discussing his books, the ones like the Fear Street ones that came out again. And I just finished that the other day too. And so that was like our topic of conversation. And my husband is like, that's what you guys talk about? Like, she's in Mexico and you guys are talking about books. I'm like, yes, hello. Like, we get so excited and so pumped about it. And I think it's just the whole magic behind it of escaping and getting to be in your own little world, I think, is the best part. But libraries for sure is just the magical feel of libraries. I love it.
Very cool. So thank you for sharing how you got into reading. It's been similar in the comments. Lots of teachers, great parental teachers, and Hayden said that her mom wouldn't let her go see the movie of a book if she hadn't read the book. And the comments are saying, and I completely agree, that is some grade A parenting. What a great idea. And yeah, we still do that in book club now. We have our book to movies reads, and it's, yeah, my friends and I read the books and we go see the movie together, and yeah, it's fun. I agree. It's definitely a a friendship builder. A lot of my friends come over and just, they're like, can I go in the library and pick out books? I'm like, yeah, obviously. One of my favorite writers, Shauna Nyquist, she says, you know, I'm not the girl you're going to borrow shoes from, but I've got books, and I can definitely relate to that. So I Am That Girl, really briefly, I kind of wanted to give everyone a second to join. So what got me interested in I Am That Girl is that it's actually a book written by a woman who started a nonprofit called I Am That Girl that is a nonprofit dedicated to empowering women and building community amongst women. And you can see how that would be right up my alley. As soon as this book came out, I had ordered it, and I just thought that this was such an important topic and such a just an important, especially in the time when we live in, when community is really going virtual. We're kind of on, you know, we're getting to witness something that's, you know, won't happen again. It's this virtual communities are popping up, which is awesome, but with it, you know, of course, comes virtual bullying and, you know, all the stuff that comes with advancement and things that, you know, access to things and people online. So I was super interested in the book, and then additionally, a lot of us are Erin Condren planners, so I think it was it March? I'm not sure. I think it was March even. Erin Condren partnered with I Am That Girl, and they have a whole I Am That Girl, I think, planner and notebook line, so thought that was really cool. Definitely great minds think alike. So that is how we decided to read I Am That Girl. It's definitely a book I immediately wanted to put on the book list. So kind of jumping into our first question, and we're going to divert a little bit off of our normal questions, but the first one's going to stay the same just so we can kind of get an idea of the sense of the book and how everyone reviewed the book in case others are watching this and haven't read it and are thinking of doing so. So the first question is, how many stars did you rate the book? And then kind of how did you experience the book, and if you found it a little bit underwhelming, why? And then this was Alexis's question, what were you expecting that wasn't delivered? So I think that's a really good point that Alexis made. You know, if we found a book underwhelming, I think it's really important to point out why. So I will go first, and I will say that I really have to give this book 2 stars. I was so excited for this book, and that, you know, expectation is everything, right? So I was really excited. I thought this book was going to be very different from what it was. It was more of a pep talk, and I really expected it to be more about community and building community among women, because that's what the nonprofit is all about. So for those who read the last, like, maybe it was at the last 10 pages that actually went over kind of the nonprofit I Am That Girl, and I just expected a little more of that. So it was just a little fluffy for me, all in all. It was a great pep talk. You know, it was definitely a feel-good read, and I feel like I read it in, like, gosh, maybe like 3 hours of combined reading. It was by no means a heavy lift, but yeah, it just was a little bit underwhelming, because I didn't so much want to pep talk. I really wanted to talk about community building. So yeah, I kind of, maybe it was my assumption that the book was going to be more on community building, because I Am That Girl is so big on that, and that's why they exist. So that could be, you know, my erroneous expectation, but that's kind of where I landed. So I'd love to see what you guys who are viewing live thought of it. And yeah, Sarah, what did you think?
Yeah, I was kind of prepared to give it 2 stars as well. I feel like I want to be generous because there was some really good stuff, so maybe officially 2.5, but I was kind of underwhelmed as well. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what I was expecting. I maybe kind of was expecting a troubleshooting manual. Like, that works better for me. Like, I like to troubleshoot things. I'm like, okay, let's really discuss, like, let's troubleshoot how to be that girl, or hashtag be that girl, right? So, but yeah, it felt like a really long pep talk, and I mean, brief pep talks work for me, right? I mean, I can take Pollyanna in small doses, but I mean, for me, it's like 250 pages of Pollyanna, and I don't know, that's not really my style. I'm a realist. I think she said something, I remember something in there about realism to the point of negativity or something. I don't remember what the direct quote was. I should have highlighted it and written down the page number, but I mean, that's kind of me. I consider myself a realist, so troubleshooting would have been a little bit more my speed than, like, I don't know, like, you've got this is your plan, and don't worry, like keep plugging away, which yeah, I mean that's great. Like that's life. I mean, totally. I get it. I believe it, but it just yeah, it was not. And full disclosure, I have like 60 pages left to read. So maybe the next 60 pages that I read will change my Alexis is shaking her head. That's great. Maybe those last 60 pages will change my rating, but I don't anticipate that it will.
Well, I'm still on the fence. Initially, I thought I would do 3, but now I'm like, I really agree what you guys have said so far. So I'm gonna just go ahead and say I'll say 3, but only because I believe Anna, if you will, but it definitely was underwhelming. You kind of felt like, okay, yeah, I've heard these things before. So for me, being Generation X, I got all this information from Oprah. I didn't need to read it in her book. So it was kind of like, oh yeah, I've heard this, heard that, and like if you're the type of person that's ever been in any kind of group that talks to women, that tries to kind of pump women up, you kind of have heard all these things before. So like I said, it's good for people who haven't heard it before. Maybe like said, she's going for Generation Y with this one. But for me, it was like, okay, yeah, that's good. But I wasn't like, it was like I was just kind of like trying to get it done, kind of, because it wasn't like it wasn't like I was really enjoying it. It was like it was some really nice parts. I was like, okay, but it was kind of like, yeah. I just kept wanting to go, yeah, okay. I've heard that, and I feel bad, but that's just, coming from my perspective of I've already been at enough women kind of girl empowerment type environments to hear this kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna go 3.
I'm gonna go low. I'm gonna do 1, and that's probably only because I have to rate it. Because it's, for me, if it was like 15 years ago or 10 years ago, then maybe it would have been great for me to read. But I feel like I did everything she's talking about. Like I followed what I wanted to do. I found my passion and I did it, and I didn't care what happened. I just went for it. It was one of those things that I would gift it as like an 8th grader going into high school, or like a person in high school who's looking for what they want to do in their life. It just wasn't really me. I skimmed the entire thing, literally like flipping pages on my iPad through it because I just couldn't do it, and I don't know why, because I was so excited. And I'm trying to figure out, like Alexis was asking, like our question, like what were you expecting that wasn't delivered? And I think I was expecting just substance, not this cheerleader frou-frou bit, which is great, but not what I was looking for. About a year ago, I read Chalene Johnson's book, Push. She's a fitness guru, but also does a bunch of like motivational and business building, like Alexis and Lisa Marie does, but on like a giant scale. And her book, really, you have 30 days, and each day you read this. At the end of each day, there are specific goals for you to accomplish and different things for you to do that really help you put together like these goals that you want to accomplish in your life and these different aspects. And I think I was looking for something that was more specific and tailored and not just like a general thing. Like everybody said, like, I like the concept. I like, supporting women and being kind and all of that, but it just wasn't my cup of tea.
Okay, so piggybacking off Katrina, I'm going to give it a 1. Is there a lower score we can give it? I don't think so. So this book I'm going to go with, this book is a complete deceiver. Can you guys see or hear me? Okay, sorry. I'm seeing Tabitha for some reason on my screen. If you have the physical book, first of all, let's just go with the physicalness of this book. This book feels substantial if you bought it, right? If you bought it, you held it in your hand, you think it's substantial. First of all, the paper is like super thick or something because it's less than 300 pages. So number one, you think you're getting something hefty, and it's not. Literally, like Katrina said, just skimming through pages, that's all you had to do. Number two, it, like you guys have all said, it was like a pep talk. And a pep talk isn't bad, but I also want to like pull back to some of the other things that we've talked about, some earlier books that we've read in the Paper and Glam book club, where we've talked before. I think we talked about this with like Sophia Amoruso's Girl Boss, and we talked about it with Lena Dunham, that this girl is, Alexis Jones, is clearly come from a place where she's been really privileged in her life. So that, to me, it would be one thing if this was written by someone who did not have ideal circumstances and they were still having the positive spin on things. So for me, this was like, you're hearing nothing new, and it's all coming from a person that you would expect to have this cheerleader mentality anyway. On top of that, I just really felt like what it was missing, and Katrina, you just said something that sparked something in my head, and now I can't remember what it was, but what it was missing was, someone said substance. It didn't have any substance at all. I would have really liked, she talked about and she gave anecdotes and she danced around issues that affect women with self-esteem and issues and, getting kind of dumped on in the workplace and things like that. But she never addresses the specific societal issues and causes of it. And then, in my mind, I kept thinking about how, and I know we haven't done this book in the book club, but I read Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg, and I loved the way that Sheryl took every problem and gave the societal context for it, and then gave information on, like, facts on what the reality was of women being discriminated against in the workplace, or women not supporting each other and why it happens. So I really just feel like this was like an anecdotal guide for how to be like a positive person, written by a woman who, as far as anyone can tell, had everything given to her. Not given to her, but she had every opportunity. So she has no reason not to have this attitude. So nothing new in it, no new theories, no new strategies, like Sarah said. It would have been nice if it was a troubleshooting guide, even something like that, where you're really bringing in some new, mind-blowing perspectives, but there's nothing new to that. It was like 100% fluff. And she was on Survivor, and I will be biased against her for that.
Okay, I had no idea that she was on Survivor. But now I feel like I totally understand, like, her being like a rich girl that wanted to write a book and had the funds to kind of do it. Yeah, there was nothing earth-shattering. I totally gave it 2 stars, only because there was one thing that she talks about pretty early on in the book where, she talks about like past relationships, and when you were in that bad relationship, that you should, learn from it, forgive it, forget it, and kind of move on instead of kind of lingering in that. That was big for me because that was something I had to learn kind of on my own. So, if I was a younger person and maybe I picked up the book and read that and thought that, then it could have helped me in some way. But otherwise, there was absolutely nothing earth-shattering. It's like reading someone's book who, like, they pulled quotes from people or kind of reached out to other inspirational women and other inspirational people and just, like, combined it all. It's like she took a journal and went to Pinterest and cut out all these inspirational quotes and was like, yes, this is, like, earth-shattering. Check this out. It's like, so it wasn't anything crazy. No, I didn't learn anything, nothing like that. If whenever I'm watching someone, and Tabitha, you brought up a great example with like Oprah. I mean, I could just watch one episode of like Super Soul Sunday, and I feel like, like I've learned something. Like my soul has grown, like my mind has grown a little bit. This definitely wasn't that type of a book. It was definitely a fluffy book. It's like a pretty book that maybe I put on my coffee table, that maybe if someone was sitting downstairs, they can kind of flip through it and be like, oh, that's a pretty quote. That's nice. It's like one of those types of books that I think what it is. So definitely kind of a disappointing book.
Well, we have some mixed reviews in the comments, and that's totally okay. We do not need to come to a consensus on this by any means, and I'm really glad that some of you really enjoyed it and really thought it was like a 5-star read, because in my dream world, every read that we, pick would be a 5-star read. It's hard to obviously pick books with, a lot of them are newly published on purpose so that, most of us, they're new to most of us, and, the ratings are, of course, written to sell books, and there's a lot of pre-releases that kind of drive ratings and drive sales. So it's definitely, you never know until you read a book. But a lot of folks in the comments, or at least kind of a handful, were saying this really spoke to them at kind of a crossroads and from some different ages. So I think that's good. And I think it kind of depends the place, kind of where you are when you're reading certain things too. But the one thing that I thought was really disappointing too, and I was kind of gonna stay out of it, but Vicki, you kind of nailed it, and it's something Alexis and I talked about last night, and it's just that I feel like she went, we said the exact same thing. We said, I feel like she went on Pinterest and literally searched quotes, and it has the attribution errors to prove it, because I don't know if you guys have ever been on Pinterest or Tumblr, but there's tons of quotes on there, and many are misattributed. And so it's, never use that as a source, but I know that Alexis has a really cool printable that she made for 2015, and Alexis, feel free to jump in, but it actually has the Mark Twain.
Okay, I've got it. Okay, it's page 137, the start of chapter 5. I've got it marked. When I saw this, let me tell you, as soon as I saw her start this paragraph, I started fuming. Mark Twain said, "Life is short, break the rules, forgive quickly, kiss slowly, love truly, laugh uncontrollably, and never regret anything that made you smile. 20 years from now, you'll be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than by the ones you did. So throw off the bow lines, sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade wind in your sails, explore, dream, discover." That is a quote by H. Jackson Brown from the book P.S. I Love You. It is not a Mark Twain quote. In fact, if you were to search it, it is probably the #1 misattributed quote to Mark Twain. So Alexis Jones, if you're reading this, don't use Pinterest to source everything in your book, because this was not the only time that she either used something and didn't attribute it right, or because Lisa Marie had other things that she pulled out that were like, Alexis, this is a Bible quote, and she's saying it like she made it up, or her dad made it up. It's like she's just getting knowledge from other places and has hodgepodged it into this book. So yeah, that quote happens to also be on my 2015 printable, if anyone has it, for my This Is Your Year printable. The whole part about sail away from the safe harbor, because I'm a sailor, so I like sailboats, and sailing quotes speak to me personally. So yeah, that's it. We'll move on from that. But yeah, I'm sure we'll bring up some more quotes that she messed up, but that's like a blatant error. Like whoever edited this or whoever published it, Evolve Publishing. Yeah, you've evolved past the need to check your sources, apparently, because that was just like so blatant.
And that's the thing too, like if somebody makes a mistake on like their blog, that's one thing. Like I'm a blogger, I'm sure there's typos, I'm sure I've made mistakes before, and I'm sure Alexis, you would say the same, and anyone who has a blog. But like these books are professionally edited, like they have publishing teams that you would think this wouldn't, I consider myself a fairly well-read girl. I mean, I haven't read everything by any means, but I shouldn't be able to like pick things out. And the funny thing is one of the Bible verses that was misattributed to somebody's dad was also misattributed to Sophia Amoruso's dad in Girl Boss, and it was actually Jesus. And it's Matthew 7:5, where he says, don't point out the splinter in someone else's eye when you have a plank in your own. But so yeah, that was Jesus, and it was attributed to somebody's dad. And I just thought it was so funny that it was almost the exact same like sentence was attributed.
Hashtag Jesus said that. Okay, not. Okay, like rule that you need to learn from: do not use Tumblr to source your quotes. Like kids like to make these pretty images, throw them on Tumblr. It's not accurate, and I don't know. I'm just like, I feel so bad for like H. Jackson Brown. I don't even know who you are, but I know that quote belongs to you.
Well, and we'll move on after this, but there was another one where somebody said, I believe that the 2 most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. But that was actually a Mark Twain quote. So it was just funny that the quote that was his wasn't attributed, and the one that wasn't his was attributed. So poor Mark Twain is probably rolling in his grave right now. So we'll move on. But it's just a little bit hard to kind of get past some of those those issues when you're reading, especially when you're like me, and I know a lot of you guys, I have such a respect for the written word. I mean, I just have such a respect for authors, so it just kind of pains my little heart that this, yeah, when things are misattributed. So anyway, the next question is, what is your takeaway for how to be this girl? So when I read books like this, kind of like Sarah said, you know, she called it a troubleshooting guide, but I really try to apply it. You know, what can I take from this and apply it in my own life? So my favorite chapter in the book was Be First. I'm not sure what chapter that was. I guess it was chapter 2. And I would definitely say this is something that I especially really practiced when I had my full-time office job and, you know, Paper and Glam, is that everything I needed to do that day needed to be done before I went to the office at 9. So if I worked out before work, it was like win for the day. You know, if I got something up on Paper and Glam, it was like, okay, I've won for the day, because we know I'm going to go to work. You know, it's not like I'm not going to do my job, and so or I'm not going to do my reading, or, you know, so the hardest thing I always made sure to do before I left for the office in the morning, and I still do that. If there's something that has to be done that day, it's done before I check email, it's done before I check social media, it's done before anything else besides really drinking my coffee and spending some time with the Lord in the morning. So I really appreciated that she really preached that be first mantra, and kind of really, you know, take care, you know, put your own oxygen mask on first, as Alexis likes to say, and, you know, it's a common saying, but that's so important. I can't tell you how many YouTube videos I've watched where it's like, wake up in the morning routine videos, and it's like, the first thing they do is reach over and check social media, which is totally fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with waking up in the morning and checking social media if that's part of your routine, but I think that's really important to just make sure, especially if you're tight on time and you have really important goals that, well, I would assume all goals are important to you, but you have goals that, you know, you're struggling to meet. It's like, be first, do that first, and, you know, the rest, everything else will kind of fall into place. So that was definitely my favorite takeaway.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I liked that, and I tend to, and I think it was in that same chapter, the part about saying no to, and like spending time with yourself, and like ways to say no, like a couple of them, like I repeated back to myself, because I was like, oh, I want to solidify that one, because that is really good. Because I mean, you know, I sometimes feel like I find myself saying yes because I feel like I have to and I want to, but then I wind up disappointing somebody because it's not something I can actually pull off, or I double book, or, you know, just priorities shift. So I really liked that. I think that was probably the best thing, and thus far the only thing that I've applied since reading the book is like carving out that time and being able to say, oh no, hang on, that's actually not going to work for me.
Oh, mine was, I mean, I feel like I am that girl, you know. I believe in the message that she was trying to, you know, she was trying to get out there, and there really wasn't anything in there that I felt like I couldn't agree with, except for my concern was sometimes, I don't know, because like I said, there was still a little bit of the book I didn't get to, but some of the things about, I just don't want people to be focused on only self. You know, that was my only issue, was that, yeah, you're going to be able to tell someone, hey, I need some me time, but just to kind of balance some of that stuff out, to say, hey, you do need to also care about others, and, you know, but just to have some balance. So I, you know, for a takeaway, I was like, yeah, I believe in this. I feel like this kind of like just saying the same things that I've already believed in, and try to practice anyway. But I do think that some of the things that she pointed out, like I know some younger girls who would need to hear some of these things that may not have had the exposure yet. But I already feel like, yeah, okay, I believe in what you're trying to say about integrity and taking care of yourself and be strong, and, you know, say no. Like, I don't know, I'm like, I don't have any issues with that. Like, I have no problems with you know, with saying no, or, you know, feeling bad, you know, being myself. Like, I feel like I'm already, you know, past that kind of stage, if you understand what I'm saying. But so that was kind of my only takeaway, that I would want there to be some balance, not to only just be about self, but also, like, you know, care about others as well. But that's pretty much my takeaway on the book.
I'm going to kind of piggyback off of what Sarah said, but the part where she was talking about how to say, like, not no to your boss, but like, this is how I would like to do it, and it's going to take me a little bit more time, and all of that detail, I thought that was really, really well done. Thought that's great for somebody just entering the workforce or even like navigating a new position and trying to excel but stay like super professional and respected. I thought that was a great way to do it rather than just saying, yeah, I can do that and having it not turn out very well, but to have everything you do be really well done and to the best of your ability. And if it takes more time, it takes more time, but it's better to be upfront about that than just haphazardly make your way through it. So I think that was one of the more specific takeaways that I had from the book. It's a good overall message. I would have been more interested, like we were talking about before, like Lisa Marie was saying, doing more, reading more about the work that she does with the nonprofit and like how that's impacted different girls. I think that would have been interesting to me because it's a great concept to be that girl, and it's a great thing to think about every morning. You know, today I'm going to be her, I'm going to be that girl, like Lisa Marie's new card that she wrote. Like, I'm going to be her today. Like, I'm going to do everything I can to be the best girl that I can be. So that, I mean, that's probably the overall cheerleading takeaway that I had.
Okay, and I've got, I marked a couple of places in the book where I thought she was making like really good points, but I'm going to share two of them that I think are probably the most powerful, that are kind of maybe more in line with the way that I think about life and not just being a woman, but like being a successful person. So the first is in chapter 3, Be Hardcore. It's on page 107. She's just talking about, she says, most people are afraid to dream big, so they live their lives as small dreams with great self-imposed limitations and with countless excuses to justify it. Living small and dreaming small is easy because you will never run out of excuses for why you don't want to do something bigger. Excuses keep you safe, comfortable, certain, and create an illusion of control, but they are the fastest way to burst your dreams bubble and knock down your hope-filled sandcastle. So this is one of the things that I'm like, I guess one of the things I'm really big on is I don't see a reason why people should not go for like impossible. Like, people tell me all the time that like what I want to do is impossible. I don't believe it, and the way I look at it is like that one quote, which I'm probably going to say it wrong, and I don't know who it's attributed to, but no one's editing me. So it's the one that says, you know, reach for the heavens, because even if you fail, you'll land amongst the stars. I never think there is a negative for going big. Like, go big or go home. There's literally never a drawback. And the second part of that, actually, that I really think fits with that, actually, is in chapter 5 under Be Bold, which is where she has a whole conversation about letting go and being detached from the outcome of things that happen. So, you know, these are like two things that are like really big in my life that I think are really big things, like really big takeaways for anyone to really understand. A lot of people ask me like why, you know, how I got to where I am, or how I get so much done, or how I'm not afraid to put myself out there. It's because, number one, I will always make sure that I'm dreaming the biggest dream I can. And number two, I detach myself from the outcomes. I dream big, I work as hard as I can at something, and then whatever happens, happens. And you know what? Generally speaking, when you put yourself out there and you push yourself really hard, there is really no failing. Like, there really isn't a failure there. It's just maybe you didn't hit the exact mark that you were targeting for, but guaranteed trying for more is still going to get you so much further than where you were. So those are my two takeaways from the book.
Okay, so I feel more empowered by what Alexis just said than from reading this book. I'm just going to say that. Like, I feel like a stronger woman just for hearing that, for real, from Alexis. But there was a couple of things that I did take away from the book that I thought was a nice thing. I'm a nurse, so for me, putting myself first never happens. You know, I always think to care for somebody else. You know, like a couple summers ago, I saw someone like fall off of a bike into traffic, and I just got out in the middle of the street and running to help this person. And my husband's like, "Are you crazy?" He's like, "You can't do that. Like, you're gonna hurt yourself or someone else." And I was like, "I don't care. That guy needed help. Like, that was what I needed to do. So for me, it's so hard to be like, this is what I need to do, or to say no to someone. That's so hard for me. I don't want anyone's like feelings to be hurt. I don't want to say, no, I can't do it, and then their feelings be hurt about it. Or my husband's so great at it. He's like, no, I don't feel like doing it, and he has no problem with it. For me, it'll like eat me up. So reading about that, like in the second chapter, I was like, okay, you know, they're for some reason hearing someone else say it's okay to say no somehow makes me feel better if I do say no, and it's definitely something I need to work on. I have a really hard time. Even people who send me stuff for like reviewing on my channel, where I'm like, that is total crap. I will never ever use or wear that. I have such a hard time being like, no, I'm so sorry. You know, it's so hard. I do it, but it's so hard because I think, God, that person really loves that. It means a lot to them, and it would mean a lot to them if I put it on my channel, but it's not going to work, you know, and it's just not going to work. So that's something I took away from it. Then the other thing she quoted, and I don't even know if it's a real quote since she doesn't have real quotes in her book, but she said Oprah said, and I love Oprah. She said that on page 71, she said, real integrity is doing the right thing, knowing that nobody's going to know whether you did it or not. I love that. And I thought of that because whenever I go on Instagram, a lot of like the big beauty gurus that I like to follow, or a lot of the fashion blog folks that I follow on there, they tend to put stuff like the one thing I read this and then I saw it. Rachel Talbot, if you guys follow her at all, she's like one of the bigger beauty guru girls, and she had a picture with her son, like Oliver, on her, and she said, you know, he's up at 6 a.m. and now we're watching cartoons. And she got a ton of hate where people were like, why do you need to let us know what you're doing? You know how many moms are out there that are getting up early with their kids? You just want to hear how great of a mom you are. And I kind of looked at it and I thought, well, maybe she kind of is. You know, I feel like some of these bigger people post things that it's like, who gives a rat's, you know, because everybody does that. So what? So you're somebody, you know, who's big in the social media. You know, are you putting that up there because you want to hear how fantastic you are? You want to hear how great your life is? That type of thing. So I liked that quote because I like people who fly low under the radar. Like somehow they always get recognized for it, and somehow, you know, karma comes back to you, and, you know, you did something great. It comes back to you. Like the universe kind of gives back to you in that way. So that spoke to me. And then another one was to take responsibility. She talks about on page 82, she says, rather than vilifying people in your life, you can choose to, it's like a whole like quote on that. I love that. I think that's a hard thing for people to do, is to take ownership. There's always somebody to blame. Always. And I hear it all the time. People are like, well, somebody put a stop sign there and they shouldn't have, and I wouldn't have gotten in a car wreck. You know, it's like, no, maybe you were looking at your phone, and you are the one who are the problem. I was just reading in our like local paper. If you guys have ever seen my channel, like I love the blotter. Like I just wait for the paper to come for the blotter. And now they started this section in our paper where it's called the sound off. So it's people who literally just complain to the paper anonymously. And somebody's been complaining that dogs should not be allowed to be walked in the neighborhood because they urinate and defecate. I'm like, so am I the only one that thinks that's absolutely insane? Like,
what about squirrels?
Yeah,
I get so mad about some of this stuff when people are like imposing regulations, like, because I have a dog now, but even when I didn't have a dog, I was still very open about it. But like, you're telling me like an animal can't be in nature, or like you're going to restrict it? Hello, like, what about that bird flying over the pool? It's going to poop in the pool. Like, are you going to say something about that? Like,
exactly. People are just, it blows my mind. Like, nobody else is like they're a victim because I've walked my dog. My dog took a leak on your pole out in the front of your house. I mean, you are not a victim. Animals need walks. Like, he needs to walk. I'm a responsible owner. I pick up after you're going to clip the grass. You're going to do whatever. But they're like, children touch it and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, your kid's probably touching the toilet in the public restroom and has far bigger issues than my dog going and taking a leak on your grass. Like, it blows my mind. Like, people just blow my mind that they don't take any responsibility. There was another thing they wrote in there, you guys. No joke. I just read this. That it's not their fault if they hit a biker because the biker was crossing the street and not in the biker lane. what if I need to get to my house and there's not a bike lane in my street? Like, and you hit me? That's not my, that's my fault? Like, what the hell?
Okay, I'm going to jump in on that one. I am afraid of bicyclists when I'm driving. I really don't think they belong on the road, but I'm careful when it comes to bike people. I'm like, if that bicyclist is driving really fast, I'm like, Mike, if we're driving a car, I'm like, if he hits a rock and falls over and hits my car, it's his own fault. I'm watching out. Bicyclists are a little crazy. Dogs, not so much.
Totally, both their responsibility though. Like if you're a biker, you shouldn't have your headphones in and like la 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 la, like Pee Wee Herman all over the road. Totally get that. Just so much like when you're driving a car, you shouldn't be like texting and like sort of have your eyes on the road, right? So like I think everyone should take responsibility for their actions because you played a role somewhat in that to cause an accident or a problem.
Yeah, so Vicky, I totally agree with what you said. Kind of, sorry, going back to the comments a little bit. Not that I mind the digression by any means. There was a few comments that totally agreed with you. That were, it didn't say what the professions were. You guys who are watching live can fill in the blanks. But I'm assuming that they're either nurses or doctors or someone in the healthcare profession because they had talked about, you know, that patients come first, and that's kind of how you're raised. And in a much more benign scenario, or not raised, but you're kind of bred in that profession to have that mentality. And you know, in the IT world, it's somewhat similar. It's like when you are young, especially, and you're paying your dues, it's clients come first. And you know, clients pay the bills, clients pay for, you know, your life basically. No matter what it is, clients come first. Whether it's like 2 in the morning, clients come first. And so I really wish that was one of those things I wish I had read when I was first starting my career, because I cannot tell you how many all-nighters I've pulled for work. I mean, literally hundreds. So and I never even thought like it's okay to push back on that until I got to be older. So you know, just because you're young and you're, you know, working your way up, it doesn't mean, you know, it's not okay to, you know, double negative, you know, it doesn't mean that you can't go to your boss and say, hey, you know, give me 2 days for that and it will be even better. So I really appreciated that. Those kind of basic empowerment things, there are definitely times in my life when I really needed that advice and I didn't feel like I could be my own advocate. So I definitely agree with what you said, Vicki, and what a lot of the comments are kind of leaning towards that. And it's funny, Vicki, that integrity quote is actually by C.S. Lewis, who's one of my favorite authors. So I think I've talked about C.S. Lewis. Like I always say, like C.S. Lewis will split your wig. I think we've talked about him like on every book chat. So it's just funny. I laughed at that one too, but yeah, I love C.S. Lewis. He's amazing. So I definitely want to open up the kind of discussion for anything we want to talk about, and then both on the live stream, I'm watching the comments, so anything we want to kind of open up the floor with for the last 15 minutes for I Am That Girl, and then we kind of went over quotes, but if there's any other quotes that you really liked that really stuck out for you, like one of mine was on page 137, right above the Mark Twain quote that says, magic lives where fear and excitement intersect. So I love that. Magic lives where fear and excitement intersect. I think that one felt really original, and it's something that I have to remind myself like almost every single day, because you know, there's the other quote that says everything you want in life is on the other side of your fear, and that's so true, but it feels it's just so hard to press through that. But then if I'm not taking risks and I'm not putting myself out there and I'm not, you know, shooting for the stars, as Alexa said, then I'm like, well, I'm bored, you know. So I always tell myself, you don't get to say you're bored. So I definitely appreciated that quote, and just similar to what Alexa said, the pep talk is definitely good, and there was she made some great points in the book, and that was definitely one of them. She definitely taught us that fear is normal, and I know, like, growing up, especially, you know, in my early 20s, I felt that, like, no one else was scared, and, you know, everyone else was just doing things effortlessly, and I was, like, having a panic attack over here, you know? So I definitely appreciated kind of the we're all in this together spirit of it.
I have to jump in really quick, because that was one of the quotes I highlighted, which I highlighted it in my Kindle, so it's location 495 if anybody has it on Kindle. But it was like, she said, first, never forget how utterly unoriginal your suffering is. And I really liked that, like, it's kind of to piggyback on that, like, we're all in this together, and, you know, not getting trapped in that pity party, woe is me, this sucks, it didn't work out the first time. I liked that a lot.
Yeah, I have two quotes that I liked. One is on, it's just the introduction, and I'm a visual person, so the quote was, "Kick off your cement shoes and fly." And I just like the visual that comes along with that. Like, just don't be so weighed down in whatever issue it is that you're having. Try to, break free of that so that you can go forward. The other quote that I like, page 99, but it says, "We are all beautiful works in progress." I love art. I love things that are original. I hate it when people feel like they have to be like someone else. That's not how nature is. That's not how flowers, there's so many different kinds. They're so beautiful. So why do you feel like you have to look like whatever our society is trying to tell you you're supposed to look like? Let that go. You're beautiful. Like, no matter exactly where you are beautiful, but know that you're a work in progress. If you want to be healthier, if you want to be, if you want to do a makeover or something, but you're beautiful. You're a beautiful work in progress. So I love that she put that in there. And I think that the more that, anybody that I talk to, or even when I talk to myself, say, hey, you know what? I'm beautiful. Like, with all of this and whatever, issues I might have, I'm beautiful. And you can't just think that, you have to own that. Like, she's talking about, be bold. If you can own where you are, then you're going to feel so much better as you get to that other place in the progress. So I'm just like, and I think about that because here I am, like, a mom with two kids, and I was first freaking out because I didn't want to take my kids to the swimming lessons because I got to get in the pool with them. And so now I'm like, no, like, this is for my kids. I love them. I want them to swim. And hey, I'm a beautiful, full of curves mama who just had two kids. So hey, I'm going to get in this pool. And if anybody looks at me crazy, I'm just going to, throw a hip at them. I'm not gonna, it just, be who you are right now. Be beautiful where you are right now. Like, I don't think that there's I love that. I love seeing a variety of people and from all different places and looking different. Stop trying to have a thigh gap and all this other crazy stuff that's like kind of crazy. Like, just love who you are. Be yourself. There's so many people who are going to love you too.
Trendy, a thigh gap? Is that
crazy? It's crazy.
What is that? Like, your legs don't touch? Like, there's a little in there? Oh my
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So I did appreciate that, from the book, because I just hate it when people don't accept themselves or love themselves. It's just, I don't know, it's so sad. It's like, it breaks my heart. Like, stop it. You're beautiful.
I think you're right on, Tabitha. But you know what? I will be honest with you that being more comfortable in your own skin has come more easily for me the older that I've gotten. And I think it was so hard for me in like high school and 20s, because I am someone who naturally, if I don't work out, I am not someone who can stay slim. It's something I have to work for, and I think the majority of people when they're younger are slim and they don't really have to work that hard for it. I've always had to be conscious of my weight. Like, I couldn't just go to a sleepover and just pig out, without having to worry about that later or being on the heavier side and dealing with being made fun of when you're heavier with a kid and things like that. But now I couldn't care less, and I completely relate to you. I took my daughter for swim lessons. I was a total disaster up and down after having my daughter. Things were hanging out where they shouldn't be, but I was like, whatever, like, I had my little baby girl. She's beautiful. She's perfect. My body did what it needed to do to get pregnant and have a healthy pregnancy. So if you have a problem with that, problem with the way that I live, because, for especially for women who've had kids, like, it's so hard, people like, I look at Bethany Frankel, okay, just because like the Housewives are on now, and all that stuff. It's insane how thin she is, but maybe she naturally is that thin, you know, and it doesn't go for everybody, you know, but for a woman to have a child, the whole process is so amazing, and I think we like don't look at that necessarily as like a society where people don't embrace, you know, all different types of shapes and sizes. I totally and completely agree with you on that, because it's everybody needs to be like stick thin, and like the gap thigh or whatever you're talking about is ridiculous. That's insane. And it's not, if you look around, most people don't look that way. I think that's insane, but I totally agree with you on that. And I was going to ask you guys what you thought. So in her chapter 4 for Be Unpopular, where she talks about protect your reputation, and how she talks about how she I think it's on 131, where she like met somebody that wanted to work with her, but then she had to confront them about a bad reputation. What do you guys think about that?
I thought it was interesting. Is that the one where there was like drunk pictures of her on her Instagram or something like that? Yeah, because I kind of get it. Because if she's like trying to recruit somebody to work for her nonprofit, I kind of understand the whole like wanting to have that person's online presence be something that is a good like role model. Because that's something, you know, we all have to think about with jobs that are, you know, different companies. Like I work in education, so I'm not gonna go like out to the bar on a Tuesday night before I have to be at work the next morning and like post a bunch of pictures of it because it's out there, you know. So it was definitely interesting. I would probably have asked the same question. I think it would have been a hard question to ask, but it sounded like from what I read and skimmed through that the girl was like surprised about it and said that she was just doing it to fit in, which is also interesting because if she wants to be part of that nonprofit, then maybe like you should go through the program before you work for her, is kind of like how I was getting it.
Yeah, and I've heard employers actually go on your Facebook and check you out prior to your interview. If you are going in, like they check your social media, just to kind of, you know, make sure you're not taking your top off and flashing people on Instagram. If you want to work for, you know, a serious company, and I think that it's a good idea. I mean, I get that social media is like private, because that was like something that was an issue, you know. I think, you know, people go out, like when I was like working on the unit, we would go out together, you know, just to blow off steam and have a cocktail or whatever, but you have to be so careful about putting that on. Same thing, like we would go out with doctors, and if someone posted a picture with you and the doctor while you're out, that could ruin his or her career, because you don't know who knows me when I've posted that picture, who knows that doctor who's a patient is like, oh, he's doing a colonoscopy on me and he's drunk the night before. You know, which, whatever, you know, maybe the guy did do a shot and he's going to do a colonoscopy and he's stellar at it. I don't know. That's his own personal thing. But, you know, it could ruin somebody. So I thought, I don't know, that was something that kind of, I saw that and I was like, wow, you know, I don't know if I could confront someone. I'd probably just hopefully never run into them again. But I can see how that could be a definite problem with social media.
It made me wonder, did anybody watch, so it seems like when Survivor first came out, I mean, I think I was still in high school, and I remember watching it with my parents, and there was some really crazy backstabbing stuff that happened on Survivor, and so I kept wanting, and I just didn't take the time before tonight, I wanted to look up some clips of her on Survivor, because I thought, I really wonder, I mean, yeah, I totally get, like, that social media thing, and I mean, I've totally looked at people that, you know, on social media, just done a quick check before we've hired, like, because I do hiring for management and stuff, and, like, we've checked and looked just to see kind of, like, how crazy is this person, right? Because it's a factor. And, but I wonder if she, you know, walked her talk on her season of Survivor, because I think it would be really hard. I mean, from what I remember, like, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when I watched this, like, when it first came out, like, there was all kinds of crazy shenanigans and, you know, people hooking up, and like crazy stuff. And so then I just thought, well, I mean, although I totally get her calling that girl on her questionable online presence, and then, you know, even her reason for the online presence, it just made me wonder, I mean, or I wondered if she was blameless as well, if she had, you know, maintained her integrity throughout her entire season of Survivor.
I wanted to look her up too, and I totally forgot to look up the videos. When we were talking at the very beginning, I Googled her when we like mentioned that she was on Survivor, and I kind of found a little bit, but it mentioned so many people in the article that I couldn't remember, because I've watched all the seasons of Survivor. That's just what I do. And I don't remember her. Like, I don't remember her. I remembered some of the people that were mentioned, but I didn't remember her. And it says that she was like on the right side of the tribal numbers to begin with, but then like she played a part in some blind sides and stuff. So I don't know if she was true to what she said or not. And I don't remember in the book if she directly like referenced it. I kind of remember her like dancing around it a little bit, but I don't remember directly.
Yeah, I think that as, you know, online presence gets bigger and bigger, especially, you know, when, as Vicky mentioned, I know Alexis knows, and anyone that has any form of online presence, the level of scrutiny is like through the roof. And, you know, like Rachel Talbot, who I watch too, and she's a pretty clean-cut girl, for lack of a better word. So, you know, she got slammed for watching cartoons with her kids. I know I've been slammed for like drinking coffee, and I had like white wine on my life list. You know, I think Alexis got slammed today for like eating dessert or not eating dessert. That's what it was, not eating dessert. You know, so like there's certain, like, you know, I think about, man, good thing. Like I feel like there's so many things on social media that are like totally outlandish. You know, that are, you know, like I'm sure you guys have seen plenty of YouTube videos that are like the first time I got drunk, and, you know, many other firsts, and it's like, okay, you know, that's on there, but then some of us are talking about like cartoons and coffee and dessert. You know, it's like, come on, like there's, so, you know, all that to say, it's like we're just getting to a place in our time, and it really is our generation that's experiencing it for the first time. It's like the level of integrity that you need is like, you know, there's not like an off day that you can have. You know, I've had obviously an off day, and it's like, I didn't even really think, you know, it's not, yeah, I didn't think that having a glass of white wine by the pool was, you know, going to trigger someone or, you know, anything like that. But everyone, you know, every head's a world, and it's just something that I know that as a vlogger and a blogger, you know, I want to be a role model. I want to be someone that a parent can watch with their daughter. I want to be someone that, you know, somebody can watch all ages. So it's something that I constantly think about. So I mean, I think it extends a lot further than just, you know, drinking or, you know, kind of the hot topics going out and stuff. It's kind of getting bigger and bigger, and the level of scrutiny is feels like it's getting higher every day.
Yeah, so I feel like because I'm like an online presency person, I need to weigh on in this, I guess, a little bit. Yeah, so I mean, it doesn't surprise me that she would confront someone that was supposed to be representing her organization for something she did online. When I went to college, it was the dawn of the Facebook era. So like Facebook was just getting big, like they just opened it up to more than just the Ivy League colleges. And I remember when I was in a sorority in college, and we had to private all of our social media things, which at the time really was just Facebook, and it may have been like MySpace, but I didn't have a MySpace. So basically you were supposed to be private. You weren't allowed to let anybody see your account, because in a sorority, sometimes they do things that can be construed in one way or another to be negative. So I definitely think that, you know, this is just common sense, that if you are a person who, you know, you're looking for a job, you know, if you're someone who's unemployed, you're looking for a job, or you're looking to get a new job, or you're going to be working in a field where you are, if you've got like drunken photos of yourself on Instagram, maybe remove those. Like, these are just like kind of like professional sort of things that I think about at this point, because people can bring things up. And I would say that like there is definitely a line, right? So like there's a line where you don't want pictures of you like smoking pot on your Instagram account if you're looking for a job, right? Because obviously your boss is going to see that, be like, okay, marijuana is not legal in this state, and therefore you have broken a law. And then there's like a difference between that and like Lisa Marie taking a photo with some wine. Lisa Marie is over the age of 21, and therefore what she's doing is completely legal and 100% within her realm as like a mature adult to be able to make that decision. So I really think that it just comes down to like, number one, on Alexis Jones's behalf, I think that what she did was smart. You do have to make sure that you're associating with the right people. Lisa Marie and I talk about this a lot, that, you know, a lot of people, especially because we're like public-y sort of online people want to work with us, people want to interact with us, and we do scrutinize the brands and the people that come across, because you don't want to become, you know, intermingled with someone who then has a crazy who then has some sort of crazy scandal or something. And I brought this up, and I don't want to bring it up really, but I'm going to say it because it's topical. But like that whole Duggar thing, the Duggar son has been, I guess he came out and said that he molested some girls when he was younger, including his sisters. And so TLC just had to pull 19 Kids and Counting. So, you know what? It's like, you really need to watch, like I'm glad that he told people. Like, I don't want it to be like, hide something like that. I'm glad it came out. But this is like one of these, I mean, we're in this period of time where anything that you do that's bad is going to have an effect not just on you, but everyone who's associated with you. So it's one of those things that kudos, like Alexis did the right thing. It's weird saying that because my name's Alexis, but she did the right thing, I think, by calling the girl out. I think it's really important to be able to say, I need people to have, you know, integrity if they're going to work with me. And I think it's just like a best practice. Like anybody who's out there, please don't pick pictures on any of your accounts where you're doing illegal things. There's sometimes it becomes an issue, and I've known people that have this issue. Underage girls who take bra shots and send them to boys, and you really didn't think that those boys weren't going to show their best friends and everybody in your class? Like, come on. Like, it's just like you really have to be careful with what you put out online. So I think that's a good point, like either way you look at it. It's a learning lesson for anybody who does that kind of stuff or puts the risky information out there, and it's a good lesson for anybody who is a professional who has a level of integrity to maintain. And are we going to go back to the quotes? Because I pulled a quote and I was waiting. But we can continue. Girl. I think we were up to Katrina.
Oh, yeah, I think I don't know. I think we're kind of just going at random. So, sorry, you just kind of jump in, Alexis.
Okay, now I feel like bad for just assembling things. But Tabitha was making a good point with her quote that she brought up about women feeling empowered about themselves. And I didn't have this marked, but it was very fortuitous that I opened up to this page, which was probably my favorite quote in the book, which is in Chapter 8, Be of Service, page 233. It's a Rumi quote, and I happen to like him. I think he's a good poet. It says, "You suppose you are the trouble, but you are the cure. You suppose that you are the lock on the door, but you are the key that opens it. It's too bad that you want to be someone else. You don't see your own face, your own beauty, yet no face is more beautiful than yours." So going off what like Tabitha said, I really love this quote. I think that what you like, you know, piggybacking off of everything Tabitha said, that you really need to love yourself. Like you get what you've got. And I feel like a lot of people live in the future or they live in the past. They live in this mentality of, oh, things were so great back when I was skinny in high school. Or one day I'm going to be thinner, and until then I'm not going to live my life and take my daughter to her swim class because right now I'm not at the place I want to be, but one day I will be. One day I will be. But you can't live in the past or the future. You have to live right now. And you really need, like everyone really needs to understand that you are the cure to all of your own problems. Like you literally need to get yourself out of your own way and just enjoy your life. If you want to work on yourself, like Tabitha said, we're all works in progress. So if you've got something you want to change, go ahead and change it. Like anything literally is possible when you dream big, as I said earlier, and kind of let go of the expectations that things need to be perfect. So I think that's a really good quote. I just wanted to make sure we pointed it out because literally, if like I say, no face is more beautiful than your own. If you don't think you're the most beautiful person in the world, if you don't think you're wonderful, really nobody else has a reason to, because everyone is self-motivated. So love yourself, and good things will happen to you, and you'll be able to, power through whatever you need to break through to, be that girl. that was the end.
Katrina, were you going to say something? I wasn't sure.
No, I don't have anything. I think the couple of quotes that I highlighted were about like how to find your passion. It's like what that surrounds you and what's always around you. And it was at the beginning, and then that's when I gave up. So I piggyback on everybody else.
All right. Well, Hayden in the comments highlighted one of my favorite quotes, which was on page 113, and she even included the page number. She's on top of her game. She said, "My dad says that," or yeah, Alexis said, "My dad says that you only need one person willing to witness your life, willing to stand up for you, to protect you, and to breathe life into your dreams." So I love that quote, and I think that that's such an important principle, no matter what you're doing in life, even if it's just getting up and, going to school or going to work. In psychology, we learned that, if a kid has a terrible home life and, they're really bullied at school and, no matter what the circumstances, if they have one friend growing up, one friend that is in their life, they will be fine. Chances are they'll be fine through the rest of their life or through the rest of their school. And I thought that was so interesting that, it really only does take one friend and that will just offset the rest of the circumstances mentally. And I thought that was so interesting, and that's just so important. We talk about, Alexis and I have talked about this in the Glampire chat a lot. It's so important to have a spiritual running buddy or an accountability partner or whatever you want to call it to walk through life with. And it doesn't matter if you're trying to build a brand or a nonprofit or whatever you're trying to do. It's like you just need one person that's willing to witness your life, willing to be there and answer the phone when you just need to rant, even though you totally don't need an answer or like a solution. You just want to rant about some craziness. Like, that is so important, and I think that's why community is so important, whether it's online community or in-person community. It's community. We're meant to live in community, and that's really why we all need that one person.
So I'm just going to ask you, because I was looking at, with you saying friends and having somebody there, she does a thing here in her Be Unpopular chapter where she says do an inventory of your friends and look and see who is inspiring you and that actually, I stopped to think about that because, and I hope I phrase this correctly, because I love all of my friends, and I have friends from different times in my life, and I feel sometimes like when I go back to certain types of friends, I go back to that time in my life. It's almost like a time machine travel almost, right? So I say this because I recently met with my nursing school friends, and we try and get together at least a couple times a year, where we were in college together, we were going through taking the boards, we were going, we were in that whole struggle of nursing school and supporting each other and being like, you're going to be an awesome nurse, that type of a thing. And now we're all married, we have kids, that kind of a thing. And so when we get together, we do inspire each other, but we inspire each other in a different manner. But then I also have friends from that time where I don't know necessarily if they're inspirational in my life. They're just there because they've been a friend for a long time. And so I guess I don't know. When I looked at that, I was like, well, so do I disregard those kinds of friends because they're not necessarily somebody who inspires me, and they're not necessarily someone who encourages me. It's just a friend because they've been there, because they were there for a hard time in my life, or they were there for a big event in my life, and it'd be a shame to discard them because they're not inspirational, or they're not giving me something back in life, I guess. So I guess I don't know. Does everyone struggle with that? Are friends supposed to always be encouraging or uplifting? What is kind of a category? I don't even know how to phrase it. What is a friend, I guess, or what are friends that you should keep in your life? What are friends that you really shouldn't keep? I know obviously toxic relationships, people who bring you down and people who aren't necessarily good, but I don't know. I have a friend who is great for when things are bad, not always necessarily great when things are great. But when something's really bad, she's always there. She's great for that type of thing. But when something is awesome that's happening, she's not necessarily the first one that's there or the one that's always encouraging, So I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Am I the only one that has that kind of going on, that battle?
So jumping off what you're saying, I feel like this goes back to something, and I don't know where this comes from, but someone said sometime that you are an average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I think that this is a really good point. So I think that really I think when it comes to friends, like, the more the merrier. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't have a problem with a friendship, I don't think there's a problem with having extra friends. Like, everyone has a place in your life, and maybe they're not super close friends, and maybe you go through periods of time where, like, you are super close. And, like, I mean, I'm the kind of person who, like, a majority of my relationships, to be completely honest with friends, is that, like, I have 1 or 2 that I'm talking to right now. And then I have others that, like, our relationship is in hibernation. And then maybe, like, months from now or years from now, like, it'll start back up and it'll pick up right where it left off. So I think it's just, like, keep the people closest to you. Make sure that they're, like, the people that are inspiring you, and that you're really able to become a better person because of them. But I wouldn't get rid of, like, all your friends. I mean, yes, you want to do an inventory and, like, kick out people who are, and that's, like, the hardest thing in the entire world to do. If anyone's done it, or anyone has a friend who you're constantly complaining about, or you kind of always feel bad, or you dread seeing this person, you may actually need to stop and think about this and decide whether or not you're going to cut this person out. Because these sorts of people, like, I've had this happen before, where it's like you kind of get into these dependent relationships where this person, like, feeds off of you, and you're like, I can't keep being, like, this source of energy that you just suck out of me. Like, you don't need toxic people in your life, and a lot of people don't realize that people are toxic. But I will just give you guys some tips right now while we're on here. If the person, you feel drained after being with them, if you dread them, if you're worried, if you're ever going to meet with someone and you're worried about sharing some information with them, like something happened, good or bad, and you're worried about having to share this information with them, or them finding out because you know they're going to explode, or you know they're going to have a strong reaction, or you know you're not going to like what they say, other than if the news is you're, like, a drug addict and you know that they're going to put you in rehab. Like, that's really the only situation where it's okay. But, like, anything else, like, it's like you got engaged, and you know if you tell your friend Susie, she's going to freak out that you got engaged. You know what I mean? Like, if you have someone like that in your life, this person is probably a toxic person, and you really need to sit down with yourself and write a breakup speech to that person, so that you can cut them off. And, like, do it politely, but just be like, sometimes you just have to tell it like it is. And sometimes you just need a friend intervention, like a friend intervention. Like, look, when I do this, you treat me this way, and I don't like it, and I want you to stop, please. And if you stop, we'll be golden. And if you don't, I'm gonna have to take more drastic measures. So that's one scenario. But I think more the merrier, Vicky. Have, like, a million friends. A lot of people have, like, friends that, like, I have friends that are, like, from grade school that, like, you see them on Instagram and, like, maybe, or on Facebook, and then every once in a while you might see them, like, very rarely. Like, honestly, there's people that I sometimes only see at, like, funerals and things like that, and it's like, you're still friends, like, you're still interested in each other, like, but you don't have to be super close. But I think the point is, keep your inner circle to be, like, people who are as inspiring as possible, because you really want to be getting, friends really should be lifting you up. And really, even if you guys are doing different things, friends really should be, like, a safe space for you to talk about anything, almost like a little mastermind group.
Inspiring, though, Alexis, not to interrupt you, but inspiring in, like, what way? Like, what's, like, your way of having friends that inspire you? Like, obviously having Lisa Marie as your friend is awesome, because you just look at her and you're like, yeah, I want to do my Instagram pictures better. Or, like, you look at her and you're like, I want my Erin Condren planner to look that. That's an inspire. You know what I mean?
So, inspiring can really literally be anything. So either, like, you just love spending time with the person, right? Like, you were talking about your sister earlier, how your sister and you can talk about books even though she's in Puerto Vallarta. Yes. It's like she's like a friend. She's, like, in your inner circle. She's your sister, but not everybody's like that with their sister. So it's like you enjoy spending time with them. You know that time that you've spent with them is going to be, like, you look forward to it. You're happier. You're a better person because of it. Like, whenever you're with someone that you love or you care about or you're close to, you always get, like, you leave and you're like, you know what I mean? Like, you're like, I'm so glad to see them, and you're so happy that you got a chance to spend time with them, and it's, you know, they don't inspire you like the way Lisa Marie and I are like, let's become girl bosses and take over the world. Like, it doesn't have to be like that, because most people, it's not going to be like that. Like, most people aren't in that scenario.
Like, I want you in my inner circle. Like, I want you there to give me that kind of inspiration all the time. Like,
you got my text. You got my text. You text me, Vicky.
I'm gonna FaceTime you and be like, Alexis, you need to inspire me today. Like, I need.
Yeah. So that's. I mean, I'm a really weird example. Like Lisa Marie and I, it's like we'll call each other up and like be like, I need inspiration. Like she'll be like, Alexis, I need inspiration for this. What should I do? And I'll like rant at her, and she'll have like, yes, this is the best business idea ever. But like most people, this isn't how it is with your friends. But just the fact that like you're spending time with someone that you love and you care about, and it's like it's a rewarding experience that you're with that person. And you know, this come back, since a lot of us are planner people, we'll just loop this in. You know, we talk about, like Lisa Marie and I talk about this all the time. Like, one of the reasons that I'm really into planners and productivity is because I want to have my life planned in such a way that I'm spending as least amount of time as possible doing stuff that I need to do, so that I have all this space open to literally spend my time the way that I want to spend it, like doing things that I love. For a lot of people like Vicky, I could just imagine, like, Vicky, if you were in my scenario, you'd probably spend your whole day with your daughter. Like, I spend my whole day with the dog and, like, talking to Lisa Marie and, like, talking to different friends and things like that, because I can. Like, I feel really blessed that, like, this is where I've gotten my life to, that, like, I don't have to be, like, Miss Busy Bee, like, into everything and have something to do every minute of every day. I love waking up in the morning and being like, I've got like 2 things I need to do, and then the rest of my day, I get to be the person that says what I'm going to do. And so I can call people up and talk to them, and really spending your time, people that you want to spend your time with. It's like money. Your time is like money. You only get a certain amount of it. And, you know, you have to spend it wisely. You have to invest it in the people that are going to be like, you know, I like watching movies, so I will spend some money and I will go to the movie. You have a friend that you like to talk about books with. You will spend some time talking to that book friend. Like, it's just anyone that brings you, like, happiness in your heart. That's what I mean by inspire. Like, it doesn't have to inspire your business decisions, but, you know, anyone that makes you feel really happy.
Absolutely. I in general have to force myself, you guys, to leave the house. I'm such an introvert. Like, I could be by myself for weeks, and I'm okay with that. Like, I'm totally okay, you know, with it. And I don't know if it's because, like, social media helps a little bit, you know, because you can, like, you look and live through people's kind of Instagram photos, and, you know, you watch YouTube videos. I mean, I could be entertained for hours, you know. I'd probably even forget to eat. You know, if it wasn't for the fact that I have dependent people on me, I could just, like, sit probably in a chair and, like, you know, grow hairy legs and never put, I mean, I would be totally probably okay with that. So, like, definitely because I like have to force myself sometimes to maintain friendships. And so when she was like, you know, doing inventory, I was like, all right, well, I already kind of forced myself anyway to go out and have a drink. It's not like I'm like, yes, like I go get drunk with the girls. For me, it'd be like, yes, I can sit at home and read my book because my husband's going to take care of my daughter. Like, yes, that's my night. Like, that I would be excited. Or, yes, I can take a bath. Like, that to me is super exciting. So, like, planning events with friends is like, like with everyone, it's like, oh God, you know, like, we have to go and I have to make small conversation and I have to do this and I have to do that. I mean, once I do it, I'm excited. But you know what I mean? Like, that's why I was asking, what's your definition of inspiring? Like, who are the people that you should keep?
Yeah, I mean, maybe, like, I don't know, if you're an introvert, like, I've been learning this from Lisa Marie, because Lisa Marie is an introvert and I'm an extrovert, and I'm learning what it means, like, what the difference is. Because I'm someone who also does not leave the house. Like, I very rarely leave the house. Like, when I go to the gym, one of the reasons I love going to the gym every day is because I go somewhere. Like, it's like, woo, I left the house. It's like, I just accomplished something. But since I work from home and, like, everything I do and all of my, like, a majority of my friends are, like, I interact with them online, I really don't have to go out. But I am an extrovert. Like, I like talking to people and things like that. So maybe your problem is that you don't like to go out and drink. Like, maybe you want your girlfriends to come to your house and do a book club instead. Like, you know, guide the discussion here. Like, if you don't, like, I'm not a big drinker either. Like, when I go out, I don't drink. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do in Aruba. I'm just going to ask for all the virgin, you know, pina coladas they've got. but it's like, this is like what, this is just like what works for me. So, if you have friends that you want to spend time with, like, get them to spend time with you on your, on your own terms. It doesn't always have to be going out to the bar. Like, it could be, let's go see a movie. It could be, let's stay online at home and FaceTime. Like, let's start a knitting circle, or, like, let me come bring you to my house and introduce you to my planners. It's like there's so many options.
So bizarre. Most people in my like real life have no idea what I do in the YouTube world. Like, they have no clue what I do, and if I say it to them, they're like, "What?"
It's okay. The other day, my dad came to visit me the other day. Now I'm really digressing. I'm sorry. But my dad came to visit me the other day, and I made him watch YouTube videos. And he turns to me and he goes, "Do I need a planner?" And I said, "No, you don't need a planner." He's like, "Okay, good." So, yes, keep people close that, you want to spend time with, obviously. I would say that if you're spending a lot of time, though, like, really feeling like you need to nurture relationships, maybe you let them go, or you talk to the person to be like, "Hey, are you good if we don't talk for like 6 months at a time?" Because, that's really what's probably going to work out best in this scenario. I don't feel like you have to like constantly keep up with people. I like let things happen naturally, which is why I say a lot of my friendships are like hibernating friendships. It's like I'll be really into like one friend, and then we'll go through a lull, and I'll pick up another friend, and then you just have people that are hibernating and wake up and pop back into your life. I mean, that's how it is for me. That's not how it is for everybody, but yeah.
I like it. I think that's good. I need to do that.
Yeah, so this is kind of along the same lines, and we're kind of coming up on time, but Amanda wants to know, how do you find those people and build that community in your own sphere? Because I know I'm like you too, Vicki and Alexis. I work from home. I'm perfectly content to never leave the house because I have my coffee and my books, and like I'm good. My dog. Done. That's a wrap. So
maybe Target. Target is a highlight. I like Target. Dollar bins.
I love Target.
Yeah. My daughter even sees the red thing. She's like, "Oh!" Like, that is a highlight for me.
I don't know. I feel like Lisa Marie, you're the best one to talk about this one because you're all about community. I mean, it took me a while to find people online, and it was literally just because I stumbled upon a community that was already existing online. So people who like want to build a community, like start with what you like to do. If you like to birdwatch, join a birdwatching group. If you have you have a certain religion that you practice, go to church and like sign up for like their activities. Like, let me tell you, churches are like the best. Like, Lisa Marie knows. Lisa Marie's schedule is packed from like church stuff. It's like churches really are like, it's like, if you're not religious, obviously it's not for you. But some people, they've got activities out the wazoo. So local like groups, I would think, like community groups. There's local sports leagues. I mean, literally, finding a community really isn't that hard. But what happens is you have to leave your house. You have to get out of your comfort zone and actually go look for it. And then sometimes, you need to try different, communities on for size. Like maybe you thought you liked hiking, but you were only like a mild hiker. And the people in the hiking group are like hardcore, and you're like, you know what, this is not for me. So, you might just have to try some things out until you find stuff. It's much easier if you leave the house, though. That's what I've been told.
Those are good. Those are definitely good tips. Absolutely, I agree with everything you said. And I think it's kind of natural, especially as you get older, for your community to be segmented. Like I have obviously my online community, and like Vicki said, the majority of everyone else doesn't necessarily know what I do. As Alexis said, I have my church friends, which are just my friends. When I moved to Denver, I didn't know anyone. I didn't know a soul. So, first order of business, finding a church. And from there, I met some just incredible people who I've really walked through life with the past, 5-6 years since I've been in Denver. And, I think having people to walk through life with, both physically in person and, online too, of course, is just so important. But yeah, it's hard when you don't leave the house. I struggle with it tremendously. My friends get me out of the house. But yeah, church is how I found my community. Absolutely. So I would agree. Anyone else have anything to add?
Well, in reference to friends, like I said, I'm an introvert also, but my best friend is my husband, so we're always doing stuff together. So when it comes to the girl time and girls' night and everything like that, I don't do a lot of that, but I do value it. Like if a bunch of the moms want to get together and say, hey, let's go out. But I think you have to know what you're expecting from certain relationships. Like I'm not expecting to tell some of these ladies like deep secrets or anything. Like we just want to go out and talk about things and just kind of kick it. Like I'm not gonna pour out my heart and soul. Like you have to know what friends are for what purpose, I think. And I think that sometimes it's like trial and error. Sometimes you might try a friend, you told them something, and then the next thing you know, they were sharing that information with everyone else. So you're like, okay, then she's not the secret keeper. So that doesn't mean that you don't have to have that person as a friend. You're just not going to share certain aspects of your life with that person. You just got to know what, she gave that whole diagram about the circles. Yeah, you have to know which circle the person's in. Maybe they're in the outer ring where you're like, we can go out, we can have coffee, we can talk about social stuff, but anything really deep, maybe that's not them. And I think that if you only have one friend, hey, be happy with that one friend. You don't have to have 20, like it's all about the quality of that relationship. So I think that we have to learn that, because sometimes they're constantly talking about, oh, your girlfriends, girls night out. And I'm like, man, I don't have girlfriends. I'm like trying to force my husband, hey, let's go and get pedicures. He's like, yeah, okay. So I'm like, I don't have to have lots of girlfriends. I guess, just a couple of girls that I know that maybe I can call them and everything, but I don't have to feel like limited that that's not what my situation is. As long as you have people in your corner, or your family, or maybe it's your mom, but, as long as you're getting all of those things that you need, it doesn't have to come in a particular picture. But that's my spiel.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Tabitha. It really does, like, things don't have to look like they look on TV, right? Like, it's funny how I always think, I always feel like I'm the only girl in the world that doesn't have tons of girlfriends. I did when I was in college, but it's like when you, like, grew up and got a job, it was like my friends were at work, and then I left my job, and now there's only one person where I work now, and a dog, and that's about it. So, I don't have, like, that same instant community that I had before. And I also think just like knowing the type of like situation you've got. Some people, their friends are their family. Like they have lots of brothers and sisters, or they've got a sister that's a best friend like Vicky. Like, and that can be enough for some people. It just matters like what your style is and what you need from different friends. If you need like a friend that's very like, I don't know, very like a fluffy friend that you just need to go out with, right? Then you've got that friend. But if you need a friend that's going to be your deep, dark, secret person, I happen to be a person who's like, all my friends have to be like everything to me, which is probably why Lisa Marie and I are so intense. Because my friends, it's like, oh, if you're my friend, you're going to be my friend. Like this is on 100%. So it's just like how you are and like what your situation is, and like. Like Tabitha, like you said, like you friends, I kind of feel like once I'm a mom, I'm hoping that like this, like I get some more friends, like that you inherit some friends from like your kids. I'm looking forward to that, because then I'm like, okay, cool, because then your kids are friends, then you're friends, and you just have to make sure your kids don't stop being friends or something, or like someone doesn't steal someone's toy, and then like there goes your relationship. But it's like you just know what you need, and don't like feel like you have pressure from like outside like ideas from society of what friendship looks like, and what you need to be doing in order to be like a good friend. Like do what works for you. Find the friends that you need. If it's one friend, that's awesome. If that's all you need. If you need 50 friends, then that's you go out and get 50 friends. So just see what your needs are, and like just build the little puzzle. It's like a little puzzle. Just find the friends.
We are right up on time, so I want to go over the next book. There's been a few questions about what the next book is, so it's linked down below in the info box, but June's book is John Green's Paper Town. So we're doing something a little bit different in June than the rest of the months. So if you're reading along with the Paper and Glam Book Club, then we have two reading lists. We have an official read, and then we have a book to movie read. So in June, it's the same book. So John Green's Paper Towns comes to theaters on June 19th. So it is both our official read and our book to movie read. So the next kind of summary, the next 3 books for the summer are just lighter. They're not memoirs, they're not girl power books, they're just lighter fiction reads to kind of go through the summer and kind of read some breezy stuff by the pool or on the beach or wherever you are. So that is what's on the agenda for June. So we will be back the last Thursday of the month to discuss John Green's Paper Town. Of course, if you're not in the Paper and Glam Book Club or following along on Goodreads, there's lots more discussion going on in those 2 venues. And yeah, I think that's almost a wrap. Book Chatters, do you guys have any last thoughts?
I have a question real quick. Is there something happening with Vanity Fair, or did I miss it?
Oh, no, you did not miss it. Thank you, Alexis. I see the classics for me, and I even posted this on the Facebook group. For me, I kind of struggle because they're almost a little bit of an afterthought, so thank you, Alexis. So we also have a classics list, and we're just reading a quarterly classic. So it's 1 a quarter, as the name implies. And Vanity Fair, I got a late start on it, and I know a lot of, Katrina, I think you finished it today, so a lot of us are kind of catching up. And then we also have some Brit Lit experts in our group, some who professionally teach British literature, and then some who are just kind of went to school like Alexis and know a lot about literature. So we are going to have a live chat of Thackeray's Vanity Fair on Monday, June 8th. So we have a slight departure on the day. Sarah wanted it to be a Monday, so it is a Monday, and we will be talking about Vanity Fair Monday, June 8th at 9 p.m. Eastern on Paper and Glam YouTube channel. So thank you, Alexis, for reminding me about that. Completely forgot. And then the next quarterly classic is Far from the Madding Crowd, which came out in theaters, I think it was the 1st of May. So that is our current quarterly classic if anyone is interested in reading along with that reading list. So, yeah. Anything else? I'm coming up for air.
I saw the movie.
Ooh, Tabitha already saw the movie. Perfect.
Yeah, I liked it. But it made me feel like I know the book is better. You know, one of those, like, because I have it on Audibles, but I only got so far, and I was like, I just want to go see the movie. And so hubby took me, and I was like, okay, it was good, but I knew that it was like, man, I know there's more in the book, so I definitely have to tackle it.
Yeah.
And which of the guys does she end up with? From the
No.
There was like the hat guy, the soldier guy, the farm boy guy. I was just laughing because Lisa Marie brought up, I didn't even know it was like on your reading list, but when I go to the gym, I swear every time I'm on the machine, I see the commercial like 3 times, and I'm like, I don't know, this lady has such a hard decision, like which guy is she gonna choose?
Alexis, you're just gonna have to read the book. It was funny, the other night I was talking about books, and Alexis was like, I haven't heard of any of the book to movie reads, and I was like, what? And now it's like, you know, it's one of those things where you're like, I don't know what that's about, and then after that, all of a sudden it's all you see. Like, I don't know if that's ever happened to you guys, but yeah, it's definitely everywhere. I have friends who saw the movie and they said it was really good. So I'm just starting the Far from the Madding Crowd. I think I'm like maybe a couple chapters in, so really gonna start tomorrow. And someone asked in the chat if I read or if we read all the books simultaneously. I do not. I go through one and I check it off and I move on to the next one. I always try to make sure that I have the official book read by the book chat, and that's kind of about it. Do you guys read them simultaneously?
Yeah, I'm usually reading like 2 or 3 books at once just because, like I've said previously, like I'll take my iPad or my Kindle to work with me because it's light, and then I'll have like a book or 2 at home that I'm reading that's a bigger paper book. So I can read a lot of books at once and not get too confused, but I usually focus on like one main one. But
yeah, I'm usually reading multiple. Like I said, either there's one on Audible or I'm reading one. That's usually how I do it.
I read multiples, but I've been having the quarterly classic kind of in the background so that I can get through all of the other books. So it's my like in between, my break between the, you know, like the regular read and the book to movie. So I but I have other books on my Kindle and that I'm reading at the same time too, because I like to change it up.
Yeah, that's a good point. Audible, a lot of us have been reading the classics on Audible, and there is a link for 2 free audiobooks from Audible in the description bar. So if that's something, if you struggle to read a bunch of books you want to read more. I fell in love with Audible, gosh, I guess it was March, and like there's no looking back. So that's also another way to really balance it all, and it really helps with the classics. So another question that was in the comments is there going to be a Glampire chat? Yes, there is absolutely going to be a Glampire chat next Wednesday. So if you love the live chats, we love having you guys live, and Alexis and I will be doing a Glampire business chat next Wednesday. I think we know what it's on. Alexis, did we formally decide what it's on?
Yes, we're saying that it's on marketing.
Yes. Okay. I wasn't sure. So the third installment of Glampire Chat will be marketing. So #marketing next Wednesday. And thank you guys so much for joining. Thank you guys, book chatters, for hanging with me through so many memoirs. I won't have you read another memoir for, gosh, until October. Okay? So no, September. We'll be back with the memoirs. So have a good night, everyone. Thank you so much for joining live. And for those of you watching the replay, thank you so much for reading along with us or checking out our book read. So we'll see you next time, last Thursday of the month.
Bye.